How you guys doing today, Toon Family? This is Webton King, and I will be talking about Kagura Bachi Chapter 2. Let's talk about the cover page first. On the cover page is the main character, a bunch of dead bodies, red floors. It looks cool as hell. One sword opened up, and now I'm kind of convinced that he's inspired after Zoro because the way he's unsheathed his sword, I think it's a water effect going up. So let's talk about where the chapter ended up. We go back to where it ended last chapter, with the main character still questioning the only surviving gangster because he kind of murked everybody else. Sheba is there he's taking the ropes away from the survivors from the last chapter to free him and let him go, kind of. And the main characters, this is the funny thing. I like main characters like this, but I know a lot of people don't like stoic type of secondary characters that are always stoic, like Sasuke. Some people hate that. Characters like that I love, but Sheba is going to help with people loving the main character, because for people who don't like characters like that, Sheba is very funny. Like this scene where the main character is questioning the gangster and Sheba just keep butting in. It's very funny. The main character is asking them about the Hashikoro. I guess it's the group of the sorcerers that emerged 4 years ago. So while he's questioning the gangster, Sheba keep butting in, and then the main character eventually look at Sheba, and Sheba have like, this is funny as hell. Sheba put a finger over his mouth and he stopped talking. Yeah, he said, "You don't need me to chime in." And the main character is not even the first time. So he's basically saying you're being a little annoying. So it's kind of funny. It's a little comedic. And then as soon as the gangster starts trying to talk about the organization of sorcerer, that's when you start seeing him turn into tree branches and attacking the main character. And the main character just cutting the trees apart. And then eventually some of the trees go towards the surviving member of the anti-group for the gangsters. And inside, he's thinking, "I'm going to die." And Sheba jumped in front of him and said, "You're not going to die." So I don't know if Sheba can, because this is where he first used sorcery. So I don't know if Sheba can read minds too. I don't know if it's ability or it was just a thing where he just say something that the survivor was thinking at the same time, but it was just lucky. But he does a two finger like the last sorcerer, the evil sorcery from the last chapter did. And then you see them teleport outside. So I like teleporting. I hope that's his sorcery. I hope that's his ability to teleport, because that's very amazing. I like characters like that. Minato, stuff like that. I love fast characters, teleport characters, time magic, stuff like that. So after Sheba makes sure the guy's good, that he teleported, he goes back in. And they mentioned to both of them, Sheba and the main character, to talk about how the bad guy didn't start turning into a tree until he started talking about the sorcery. So they were like telling each other like the sorcery was definitely like high level to be able to do that. And then you just see this gruesome scene with the villain. Every tree's coming out his head. It's very amazing. The art in this is very good. And you just see trees coming at him, blood, screaming. He looks like he might still be alive, which is messed up. But he probably dead, but it kind of looked like he's still yelling. And you just see them walking away. Really cool-ass pose. Sheba got a thing where I think he likes keeping his hands in his pockets, because outside taking him out to use sorcery for the first time, he's always having his hands in his pockets. And then while they're walking away, you see the main character kind of leaned out like he's fatigued. And then this is when we first learned that the main character was a noob. He never knew how to use swords, sorceries, nothing. He didn't start learning until like 3 years ago. He has zero combat experience. He hasn't even really unlocked his enchanted blade. I'm assuming that's what they call him, blades. That use sorcery. He hasn't even unlocked those yet. His enchanted blade, real potential yet. That's what Sheba says. And then we should go back to a flashback of where Sheba runs towards the house because the barrier, I'm assuming he set up, or someone who's in favor of the dad set up, so Sheba can always protect the dad if something goes wrong. But he kind of came late, where the main character is already over his dead body. and the main character kind of have like a dead face, like shock. Like some people yell, some people cry the second something happens. Some people are just shocked first before emotions start coming towards them. Sheba start running towards the main character, asks, "Are you okay? Are you okay? What on earth?" And all the main character with a dead face, he just said there are 3 sorcerers. So this is where we learn one of the sorcerers we saw last chapter with the gangsters was one of them, which I did say he wasn't the main villain, but I still don't think he is. I think these 3 sorcerers work for someone else. He doesn't look like someone who would be like the main villain. He might be the main villain for this first arc of the main character looking for them. And then once he beat them, he's going to get information where the real villains are. But you can see the silhouette of all 3 of them. You can kind of see 2 of them really good, except their faces. And there's one, and you can only see the legs. And you see Sheba passing out while looking at them. When they came to, apparently the 6th sword that the dad forged for the war, he collected them after the war. And he had it under his workshop. So they're all gone. So that's very important. I'm assuming these sorcerers are going to use it. They stole all of them, all 6 of them. And then we see a flashback of the dad talking about the Shanty Blade, how they each have special powers. So that's kind of cool. I wonder how the powers are going to be different from each other. I think some of them going to be elemental based, hopefully animal based, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with the series. We just have a bunch of like father moment between him and how the main character is telling him he can't take him serious because while he's saying something serious, he has a shirt that you don't take him serious with. So you see the line moment with him and his dad, and then you just see the dad dead as hell, and the main character crying. I guess everything finally came to him. He started crying. He's like, "Do you know how much my dad cared about the katana?" And then you see a scene with them inside I don't know if it's inside the fish bowl where they're eating and they're laughing and the 3 fishes around them, and you just see the main character bawling his eyes out. You also see the fishes on the floor. I see some dark thing. I don't know if the fishes are getting absorbed into the sword or something. I don't know. I'm speculating. But when the main character started thinking about the sorcery, he's like, "I'm going to cut them all." The interesting about the sorcerers that they all kind of have this design on their hands. So I guess that might be the organization side, how they look. Because Sheba, at first I thought it was a thing that sorcerers had to use sorcery, but Sheba he didn't have none of that sign to use his sorcery teleport, so I think that's just their organization. And Sheba kind of mentioned the katana Shuro wields now is one of the sword that the dad spent years completing after the war, and this is it's his life to protect the 7th one. So the main character got this. So the villains probably thought there were only 6, but the 7th one is I'm assuming is the most important one. Is the one that the main character have, and it's not registered. Nobody knows about it. So they probably didn't take it because they didn't know how important the sword was. It's probably one of the most important ones. And you just see the main character, and you see the moon behind him. He opened the sword a little bit. The fish is swimming around him. So maybe he's just thinking about the good moments because the fish, I'm assuming the fish remind me of his dad. The good moments when the dad came and came back with fish, and they were just happy. And you just see his face dreaded. And this is when we learned they were in Tokyo. This is when we learned they already got there. Because this is when the Sheba comes in and said, "We have information. There's been sighting of a Shanty Blade." And then you just see the main character's eyes get serious, and then he closed the sword. And he said, "Let's go." So I really like this chapter. It's kind of like a first chapter. It's added on to the first chapter. It tells us what happens, but it doesn't tell us too much. We barely see what the most of the villains look like. We've seen one of them already in the first chapter, so he's definitely gonna be. I think he's probably gonna be the weakest and the first one to find, because we already seen him. And that's it. I really like the chapter. I'm still trying to find a webtoon to do a video on, but once I find one, I'm gonna start making videos on it here. I'm just waiting for a new web series to start, and I follow up towards it. And I want to keep track of it because there's a lot of webtoons that I like right now, but it's already 80 chapters. I don't want to keep on. But anyways, I'm not gonna make this video longer. Thank you for listening to my video. Subscribe, and I'm gonna improve better on my videos, and hopefully you guys keep up with me towards me making 1 million subscribers. That's my goal. All right, bye, Toon family.